right on the dot. Prep time was moving a little slow this morning, but we here. Top of the day, beautiful people. Top of the day. Okay, there we go. All right, beautiful people. It is Tuesday, February the 16th, 2021, day 79 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. Another the 3-year consecutive day count, day 748. We start in the book of Deuteronomy today. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. So let's go ahead and get started here with the shimmer. Natasha! Hey, girl, hey! You got good reception today, back in the city. Okay, y'all, let's do the shimmer. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the God of our fathers, have promised us, in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our God, He is one God. And you shall love Yahuwah your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children. And you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes, and you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah our God for our good always, that He might preserve us alive as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah our God, as He has commanded us. Peace and blessing. Sawubona. Betwabu. Okay, beautiful people. Look, I didn't even realize. I knew it was this snowstorm going through the place, right? But these last couple of days, I kind of been like away from the news, and I really didn't watch it because I know it's been kind of like cold and raining here. But then I realized a whole lot of Virginia was without power due to the ice and stuff. Like I had no clue, didn't realize it till last night when we cut the news on. I'm like, what? There's a huge power outage here in Virginia. Shalom, Mom. So I was like, oh, snap. I mean, nobody mentioned, so I guess nobody I know lost power here. Blessed be the most holy for that. Hope everybody get their stuff back on because people still without power here. And it's freezing cold, but today it's supposed to be like 64 degrees. So hopefully they get some warmth, because here in Virginia, if your house doesn't have the right size, I'm gonna say like heating pad thingy, I forget what it's called. That's probably really bad. I really should know what the name of that is. But because it doesn't really, it used to never get as cold as it's starting to get now here in Virginia. The way they build the houses here, the like the heat, the heat like goes off when it gets below 40 here, right? So it's like cold in your house. And we experienced that a couple of years ago, like before we moved here. And it's the same thing. If it drops below 40, the whole freaking heat just act crazy, right? So everybody got to bundle up in extra clothes and stuff, walk around the house in blankets. I'm like, what in the world? So I don't know. Y'all just be warm out there. But thank the Most Holy for this warm day. Maybe a couple warm days is coming. But I said that because I know some people was cold the last couple of days, especially like if they didn't build a house or they don't have a house that has like a better heating system in it that'll work when it dropped below 40. It's not a good experience. Not a good experience. All right, y'all. So, but also, there was a thunderstorm last night. Like it started thundering and lightning probably about I want to say it was like one something when we realized it was crazy. Me and my husband, we were up and we were talking and everything, and I came downstairs to get me something to drink, and I was standing at the stove. And I decided I was going to get me something to eat too. So I made me like a little dip, for my chips and stuff, right? And so all of a sudden, my son's dream, the dream that I called you and told you about, was the day before yesterday, Josiah. The dream came back to me while I was standing there making it. And after the dream flashed to me, I heard a big crack of thunder. I'm like, and it kind of freaked me out. It kind of freaked me out that his dream would come to me, and then I would hear this loud boom of thunder. And what's crazy was I didn't know Josiah was woke. Josiah came, I heard somebody running. Of course, I figured thunder, okay, a child was up or woke one of the children up, they run into our room. But it was Josiah, and he came running. I heard him running. And Jay was like, boy, calm down. And then he comes, where's mom? And he come running down the stairs. And he said, Mom. And I looked at him. I'm like, your dream? He said, I said, ooh, this kind of scary, ain't it? He said, yes. He said, it's about to happen. I said, what I know is about to happen is we're probably about to have thunderstorm. As to your dream, if that's about to happen, I'm not quite sure. Now, let me tell you what his dream was. The day before yesterday, he woke up because he slept in later than everybody else. He's like the night owl, right? He's like the night owl, and he like does both of them. Some morning he up with me, he want to drink coffee with me. Boy, 7 years old. No, I'm sorry, he just turned 8. Yeah, he 8. But anyway, I call him my coffee buddy, but he's also my late night owl when I'm up, right? So, but anyway, his dream was he woke up and he said, "Ma, I just had this dream." I said, "What?" He said, "It was kind of scary." I said, "What was it, Josiah?" And so he said, "Well," he said, "there." And he used these exact words, right? He 8 years old. He used these exact words. He said, "There was this severe thunderstorm." He said, and then lightning started striking. These were his exact words, y'all. Listen. He said, there was a severe thunderstorm, and then lightning started striking down every high place. And then it started striking down every low place. He said, and then our whole family got on a plane and went to Nani house. And I'm like, that was interesting because, first of all, it caught my attention with the words that he used by using high place and low place. Because if we read the scriptures, what do we know? Scripture is talking about when it's talking about the high places. There were places of idol worship, right? And they chose the highest places in the city. Some of them would even choose mountains to set up high places, right? And so we know, listen, and the dream, I'm just like, wow, because of the words he used. Now, I don't really use them words a lot with them. Now, we'll use like the word lightning. Like if we're praying or something, and we'll say, we'll just close your eyes and imagine you who are doing this. Imagine you who are, he's invigorating you, like he's giving you power. I said, so imagine him throwing down lightning bolts and like the iron, imagine like the Iron Man sigil, the thing is in your chest. Imagine who are giving you power by throwing down lightning bolts and hitting that, and boom, you radiating full of his glory and power, right? So for a second, I'm like, And I thought about how I be teaching them. He said, lightning began to strike down lightning began to strike every high place and every low place. And what that said to me is that something about to start. I mean, things have been happening, but what I'm looking to see happen is like modern day idols in the high places, or people of prestigious seats and stuff in high places, and even some of those in low places being struck down. Now, who's the lightning thrower? Yahuwah himself is the lightning bolt thrower, right? So he said, lightning began to strike every high place and every low place. And then we all got on the plane and we went to Nani house, and she lived in this, what did he say? He moved his hands. He said, and we all got on a plane. I said, who got on a plane? He said, our whole house. He said, our whole house got on this plane, and we went to Nani house, and she lived over here in this valley. And he said she lived over here in this little valley. I was like, oh, okay. So to me, that I mean, I don't know. I don't have the full revelation understanding of that, but it seemed like with that part, I started thinking about the gathering of you who was people, right? Because think of Nani is my mom. She's here. Think of that as being a safe place. Going everybody love to go to grandma's house, right? So I'm thinking about it in that vein. So it was really interesting. So we came down here. I said, what I understand is we're about to have a thunderstorm. But as to your dream, if that's about to happen like right now, I don't know. I said, I don't know. I said it could be. I said, but your dream, I believe, was had spiritual significance to it, Josiah. And he just looked like, oh, can we sleep in your room? And that was it. All right, y'all. So, but what I'm looking to see is like more people or people who are considered giants in the faith that definitely maybe undercover vagabonds, that are actually in trouble with the most holy. I'm looking to see more of those things come out, the high places being struck down, and even those who are in the low places getting hit too, So everybody do it once over, do it twice over, do it thrice over. Consider your ways, check yourself, check your family, So that's how I look at that. So now my eyes are open and I'm watching, right? Because we know we at that time when he about to gather his people and restore us. He said he's going to deal with the vagabond, the rebel among us face to face. Like he directly is going to deal with them, meaning he's going to deal with his own people that's rebels down here walking the earth, right? So if we see some of them being taken out of here, just know. Okay, yeah, so let's start the reading for the day. We are in, make sure my volume, ain't nobody said nothing, so I guess my volume is good. Okay. Oh, Trina said, well, it has not snowed in Arkansas for many years. We got several inches. I'm so glad maybe people will sit their butt down. I know, right? And stop spreading this COVID. But what they say is the cold, although sometimes we know that sometimes we need a good snow to kill the virus. But for some reason they're talking about the snow, the cold air is gonna make it worse. It's the heat that's gonna kill it. I don't really know. I mean, I read some stuff, but I don't really know. I just know I'm keeping to what you would say, and I'm keeping my body under control, right? So feed it life, y'all. Load up on vitamin C, zinc. If you got sea moss, do sea moss. I think daily I take a vitamin C, zinc, vitamin C, zinc, vitamin D. I take an iron pill, and I take it's called I think it's called Quercetin. Yeah, Quercetin. But let me tell you something about that Quercetin. Boy, it's cute. I think it's Quercetin. Let me show it to you real quick. Because I noticed that stuff worked faster than anything else. And I heard a female doctor. Oh yeah. It was a black female doctor who they kind of put on blast, and she was telling people the truth. She said, listen, this is what y'all need to get. And when I heard how it was like an hour long, I'm gonna have to find it. Yeah, it's Quercetin, right? And so I listened like to her whole thing, and she was just talking about how they realized this is like a really, really fast immune system booster. And so I was like, I'm gonna get me some of that, because I'm gonna try it out. It's gonna help me keep my health and everything going. So I looked up and got some plant-based one, make sure I ain't getting nothing with no pork capsules, so I get veggie or vegan capsules and stuff. But this stuff works like a champ. Like if you feel, because I noticed a couple times, like with the weather kind of changing and stuff, I may get like the sniffles or something, or sometimes you can like feel a cold or something coming on. I was like, oh no, not today. This would be the thing. Like, and I've only had this probably, because I got a couple bottles. I purchased it about a month ago, and like I'd say within that same day, you can feel it working within that same day. And I take like 2 at a time. I take it once a day, 2 at a time. It's plant-based Quercetin, Quercetin. It says powerful immune and respiratory support. Yes, it really is. So if y'all having issues, you need to boost your immune system. Sometimes I'll take this But it's rare that I don't take the other ones. But if I don't take any of the other ones, I always take this. At least for the last month since I had it, because you can feel it immediately. That whatever is in that quercetin, it does something for this melanated body. It really does. So okay, y'all, we in Deuteronomy today. I didn't talk to, oh my gosh, I spent 15 minutes talking about that. Okay, Deuteronomy chapter 1. These are the words that Moses spoke to all the people of Israel while they were in the wilderness east of the Jordan River. They were camped in the Jordan Valley near Suf, between Paran on one side and Tophel, Laban, Hazeroth, and Zahab on the other. Normally, it takes only 11 days to travel from Mount Sinai to Kadesh Barnea, going by way of Mount Seir. But 40 years after the Israelites left Egypt, on the first day of the 11th month, Moses addressed the people of Israel, telling them everything Yahuwah had commanded him to say. This took place after he had defeated King Sihon of the Amorites, who ruled in Heshbon, and at Edrei had defeated King Og of Bashan, who ruled in Ashtaroth. While the Israelites were in the land of Moab, east of the Jordan River, Moses carefully explained Yahuwah's instructions as follows. When we were at Sinai, Yahuwah, our God, said to us, "You have stayed at this mountain long enough. It is time to break camp and move on. Go to the hill country of the Amorites and to all the neighboring regions, the Jordan Valley, the hill country, the western foothills, the Negev, and the coastal plain. Go to the land of the Canaanites and to Lebanon and all the way to the great Euphrates River. Look, I am giving all this land to you. Go in and occupy it, for it is the land Yahuwah swore to give to your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and to all their descendants." Moses continued, "At that time, I told you, you are too great a burden for me to carry all by myself. Yahuwah, your God, has increased your population, making you as numerous as the stars. And may Yahuwah, the God of your ancestors, multiply you 1,000 times more and bless you as he promised. But you are such a heavy load to carry. How can I deal with all your problems and bickering? Choose some well-respected men from each tribe who are known for their wisdom and understanding, and I will appoint them as your leaders." Then you responded, "Your plan is a good one." So I took the wise and respected men you had selected from your tribes and appointed them to serve as judges and officials over you. Some were responsible for 1,000 people, some for 100, some for 50, and some for 10. At that time, I instructed the judges, "You must hear the cases of your fellow Israelites and the foreigners living among you. Be perfectly fair in your decisions and impartial in your judgments. Hear the cases of those who are poor as well as those who are rich. Do not be afraid of anyone's anger, for the decision you make is Yahuwah's decision. Bring me any cases that are too difficult for you, and I will handle them." At that time, I gave you instructions about everything you were to do. Just as Yahuwah, our God, commanded us, we left Mount Sinai and traveled through the great and terrifying wilderness, as you yourselves remember, and headed toward the hill country of the Amorites. When we arrived at Kadesh Barnea, I said to you, "You have now reached the hill country of the Amorites that Yahuwah, our God, is giving us. Look, he has placed the land in front of you. Go and occupy it as Yahuwah, the God of your ancestors, has promised you. Don't be afraid. Don't be discouraged." But you all came to me and said, "First, let's send scouts to explore the land for us. They will advise us on the best route to take and which towns we should enter." This seemed like a good idea to me, so I chose 12 scouts one from each of your tribes. They headed for the hill country and came to the valley of Eshcol and explored it. They picked some of its fruit and brought it back to us, and they reported, "The land Yahuwah our God has given us is indeed a good land. But you rebelled against the command of Yahuwah your God and refused to go in. You complained in your tents and said, 'Yahuwah must hate us. That's why he brought us here from Egypt to hand us over to the Amorites to be slaughtered. Where can we go? Our brothers have demoralized us with their report. They tell us the people of the land are taller and more powerful than we are, and their towns are large, with high rising walls into the sky. We even saw giants there, the descendants of Anak. But I said to you, don't be shocked or afraid of them. Yahuwah, your God, is going ahead of you. He will fight for you just as you saw him do in Egypt. And I said that like that, the descendants of Anak, because remember, this is after the flood. They talking about they still seeing giants. It wasn't just, oh, we look like grasshoppers in their sight because they so, no, they were literally still giants in the land. How did they get there? How did they get there? Remember, we read it filled in that part. Now we kind of understand this. Why King Og, one of the descendants, forefathers, was saved. He went along for the ride in that ark. So it was his posterity that kind of lived on, right? If y'all got the book, go back and read that. As I believe it's in it's in the first volume. Go back and read the first volume again, y'all. Okay. But I said to you, let me go back up here. Hold on, let me just go here. Yahuwah must hate us. That's why he has brought us here from Egypt to hand us over to the Amorites to be slaughtered. Where can we go? Our brothers have demoralized us with their report. They tell us the people of the land are taller and more powerful than we are, and their towns are large with walls rising high into the sky. We even saw giants there, the descendants of Anak. But I said to you, don't be shocked or afraid of them. Yahuwah, your God, is going ahead of you, and he will fight for you, just as you saw him do in Egypt. And you saw how Yahuwah, your God, cared for you all along the way as you traveled through the wilderness, just as a father cares for his child. Now he has brought you to this place. But even after all he did, you refuse to trust Yahuwah your God, who goes before you looking for the best places to camp, guiding you with a pillar of fire by night and a pillar of cloud by day. When Yahuwah heard your complaining, he became very angry. So he solemnly swore, not one of you from this wicked generation will live to see the good land I swore to give your ancestors, except Caleb, the son of Jephunneh. He will see this land because he has followed Yahuwah completely. I will give to him and his descendants some of the very land he explored during his scouting mission. And Yahuwah was also angry with me because of you. He said to me, Moses will not even enter the promised land. Instead, your assistant Joshua, the son of Nun, will lead the people into the land. Encourage him, for he will lead Israel as they take possession of it. I will give the land to your little ones, your innocent children. You were afraid they would be captured, but they will be the ones who will occupy it. As for you, turn around and go on back through the wilderness toward the Red Sea. Then you confess, we have sinned against Yahuwah. We will go into the land and fight for it, just as Yahuwah our God has commanded us. So your men strapped on their weapons, thinking it would be easy to attack the hill country. But Yahuwah told me to tell you, do not attack, for I am not with you. If you go ahead on your own, you will be crushed by your enemies. This is what I told you, but you would not listen. Instead, you rebelled against Yahuwah's command and arrogantly went into the hill country to fight. But the Amorites who lived there came out against you like a swarm of bees. They chased and battered you all the way from Seir to Hormah. Then you returned and wept before Yahuwah, but he refused to listen. So you stayed there at Kadesh for a long time. Had them boys running out of there like the 7 sons of Sceva. Okay, second chapter. Shalom, Josiah. Shalom. What do you think about coffee against support? Oh, girl. Listen, I love me some coffee, and sometimes I don't, right? Wait, you asking, is it good? Please send me a cocktail. Please send me your cocktail mix. I'll post in here what I be taking, right? Okay, but Thailand, I love me some coffee, but sometimes I know it's not good for me, right? Because Listen, like when I be cleansing my body, as you may see, sometimes my face will break out, right? Just like soda. Like I haven't had soda, right? But my face will break out if I drink anything fizzy. So I got to stay away from the sparkling water. But sometimes you just need to get that that fizz, or at least I do sometimes. I was like, okay, I just can't even do the sparkling water. My mama, she said, I know anytime you didn't had something you ain't supposed to have, but a lot of times a lot of times it do, right? But I haven't had a soda in a while. It's a sparkling water, right? So I was like, okay, I got to get over this craving for something, the sparkly stuff. It's like something a little bit stronger than just like water or juice or tea. But sometimes even the tea, like I ain't gonna say like the herbal tea, but like the caffeine, the caffeinated, even like the half calf or the decaffeinated tea. It's something about the caffeine or something that's in it that causes my face to break out. So I really shouldn't be having it at all. But also when I go through the detox, my face will also break out. So sometimes, like, girl, I don't know, is you detoxing or you eating something or you drinking something you're supposed to have? So a lot of times it's been recently the sparkling water. But the coffee, I'm for it, and then sometimes I'm against it. It just depends on how your body acts, right? It depends on what you're trying to use it for. Now, if you drink it black, okay, it's a little more healthier than when you're adding a creamer to it, right? And it could have some health benefits. It really could. If you've ever looked into coffee, it could if you drink it black. But a lot of people can't drink it black unless you got a really good blend, right? I can drink straight black coffee, but it has to be a really good blend. It has to be smooth, and it has to be it. I don't know. It just depends on the person. Thailand, you look into it, research the benefits, and then you decide yeah, nay, because now you can own that information if you do with it what you're gonna do, right? Okay. But I literally do. I make coffee just about every day here. Even though I may not drink it, even though my husband may not drink it, he just loves the smell because he grew up smelling. I used to have a Keurig, right? He's like, "Oh, you got coffee? It don't even smell like coffee here." But I realized the smell of coffee. He loves the smell of coffee. So some days we won't even drink coffee, but I get up faithfully and I put on the pot so you can smell the coffee. So it smell like Starbucks in here. And so, and it'll get him up. I hear his feet hit the floor. Boom. I say, yep, he up. Smell the coffee. Trying to help him out. Sometimes it be hard to get up, especially on cold days. Okay, smell of coffee. It'll get you up. So, but Thailand is, yeah, nay. It's your decision. Deuteronomy chapter 2. Then we turned around and headed back across the wilderness toward the Red Sea, just as Yahuwah had instructed me, and we wandered around in the region of Mount Seir for a long time. Then at last, Yahuwah said to me, "You have been wandering around in this hill country long enough. Turn to the north. Give these orders to the people. You will pass through the country belonging to your relatives, the Edomites, the descendants of Esau who live in Seir. The Edomites will feel threatened, so be careful. Do not bother them, for I have given them all the hill country around Mount Seir as their property, and I will not give you even 1 square foot of their land. If you need food to eat or water to drink, pay them for it. For Yahuwah has blessed you in everything you have done. He has watched your every step through this great wilderness. During these 40 years, Yahuwah your God has been with you, and you have lacked nothing." So we bypassed the territory of our relatives, the descendants of Esau who lived in Seir. We avoided the road through the Arba Valley that comes up from Elath and Ezion Geber. Then, as we turned north along the desert route through Moab, Yahuwah warned us, "Do not bother the Moabites, the descendants of Lot, or start a war with them. I have given them Ar as their property, and I will not give you any of their land." A race of giants called the Emites once lived in the area of Ar. They were as strong and numerous and tall as the Anakites, another race of giants. Both the Emites and the Anakites are also known as the Rephaites, though the Moabites called them Emites. In earlier times, the Horites had lived in Seir, but they were driven out and displaced by the descendants of Esau, just as Israel drove out the people of Canaan when Yahuwah gave Israel their land. Moses continued, "This Moses continued. Then Yahuwah said to us, get moving, cross the Zered brook. So we crossed the brook. 38 years passed from the time we first left Kadesh Barnea until we finally crossed the Zered brook. By then, all the men old enough to fight in battle had died in the wilderness, as Yahuwah had vowed would happen. Yahuwah struck them down until they had all been eliminated from the community. Oh, ain't that something, bro? Hold on. Just thought about the dream again and what Josiah said. Listen. Yahuwah struck them down until they had all been eliminated from the community. When all the men of fighting age had died, Yahuwah said to me, today you will cross the border of Moab at Ar and enter the land of the Ammonites, the descendants of Lot. But do not bother them or start a war with them. I have given them the land of Ammon to them as their property, and I will not give you any of their land. Their area was once considered the land of the Rephites who had lived there, though the Ammonites called them Zamzumites. They were also as strong and numerous and tall as the Anakites, but Yahuwah destroyed them so the Ammonites could occupy their land. He had done the same for the descendants of Esau who lived in Seir, for he destroyed the Horites so they could settle there in their place. The descendants of Esau live there to this day. A similar thing happened when the Caphtorites from Crete invaded and destroyed the Avites who lived in villages in the area of Gaza. Moses continued. Then Yahuwah said, now get moving. Cross the Arnon Gorge. Look, I will hand over to you Sihon the Amorite, king of Heshbon, and I will give you his land. Attack him and begin to occupy the land. Beginning today, I will make the people throughout the earth terrified because of you. When they hear reports about you, they will tremble and dread. They will tremble with dread and fear. Moses continued, from the wilderness of Kedemoth, I sent ambassadors to King Sihon of Heshbon with this proposal of peace. Let us travel through your land. We will stay on the main road and we won't turn off into the fields on either side. Sell us food to eat and water to drink, and we will pay for it. All we want is permission to pass through your land. The descendants of Esau who lived in Seir allowed us to go through their country. So did the Moabites who live in Ar. Let us pass through until we cross the Jordan into the land Yahuwah our God has given us. But King Sihon of Heshbon refused to allow us to pass because Yahuwah your God made Sihon stubborn and defiant so he could help you defeat him, as he has now done. Then Yahuwah said to me, look, I have begun to hand King Sihon and his land over to you. Begin now to conquer and occupy his land. Then King Sihon declared war on us and mobilized his forces at Jahaz. But Yahuwah our God handed him over to us, and we crushed him, his sons, and all his people. We conquered all his towns and completely destroyed everyone, men, women, and children. Not a single person was spared. We took all the livestock as plunder for ourselves, along with anything of value from the towns we ransacked. Then Yahuwah our God also helped us conquer Aor on the edge of the Arnon Gorge, and the town in the gorge, and the whole area as far as Gilead. No town had walls too strong for us. However, we avoided the land of the Ammonites all along the Jabbok River and the towns in the hill country, all the places Yahuwah our God commanded us to leave alone. Okay, last chapter for today. Shalom, Josiah. Shalom. Something to think on. Yes, Natasha was thinking about that dream. That's what she was responding to. Okay. All right, last chapter in Deuteronomy. And then we hop on over here. I messed that up. Okay, I can see it now. Okay. Deuteronomy chapter 3. Next, we turned and headed for the land of Bashan, where King Og and his entire army attacked us at Edrei. But Yahuwah told me, do not be afraid of him, for I have given you victory over Og and his entire army, and I will give you all his land. Treat him just as you treated King Sihon of the Amorites who ruled in Heshbon. So Yahuwah, our God, handed King Og and all his people over to us, and we killed them all. Not a single person survived. We conquered. We conquered all 60 of his towns, the entire Argob region in his kingdom of Bashan. Not a single town escaped our conquest. These towns were all fortified with high walls and barred gates. We also took many unwalled villages at the same time. We completely destroyed the kingdom of Bashan, just as we had destroyed King Sihon of Heshbon. We destroyed all the people in every town we conquered, men, women, and children alike, but we kept all the livestock for ourselves and took plunder from all the towns. So we took the land of the two Amorite kings east of the Jordan River, all the way from the Arnon Gorge to Mount Hermon. Mount Hermon is also called Sirion by the Sidonians, and the Amorites call it Senir. We now conquer all the cities on the plateau and all Gilead and Bashan as far as the towns of Selakah and Idri, which are part of Og's kingdom in Bashan. King Og of Bashan was the last survivor of the giant Rephaites. His bed was made of iron and was more than 13 feet long and 6 feet wide. It can still be seen in the Ammonite city of Rabbah. So remember when we was talking about King Og in the Legends of the Jews, back here in chapter 1, right? Remember, this is the same King Og from that time that lived that lived through the flood. Yes, he lived a very, very long life, right? This is the same King Og, and it also talked about his bed back then. Okay, remember Natasha, you was here. We talked about that. We was looking up, and I think Aliyah was trying to do was trying to convert it, but here it actually says this. It gave us different measurement words in here, but it tells us here it was more than 13 feet long and 6 feet wide. Okay. When we took possession of this land, I gave to the tribes of Reuben and Gad the territory beyond Ar along the Arnon Gorge, plus half of the hill country of Gilead with its towns. Then I gave the rest of Gilead and all of Bashan, Og's former kingdom, to the half tribe of Manasseh. This entire Argob region of Bashan used to be known as the land of the Rephaites. Jair, a leader from the tribe of Manasseh, conquered the whole Argob region in Bashan, all the way to the border of the Geshurites and the Maccathites. Jair renamed this region after himself, calling it the towns of Jair, as it is still known today. I gave Gilead to the clan of Machir, but I also gave part of Gilead to the tribes of Reuben and Gad. The area I gave them extended from the middle of the Arnon Gorge in the south to the Jabbok River on the Ammonite frontier. They also received the Jordan Valley all the way from the Sea of Galilee down to the Dead Sea, with the Jordan River serving as the western boundary. To the east were the slopes of Pisgah. At that time, I gave this command to the tribes that will live east of the Jordan. Although Yahuwah your God has given you this land as your property, all your fighting men must cross the Jordan ahead of your Israelite relatives, armed and ready to assist them. Your wives, children, and numerous livestock, however, may stay behind in the towns I gave you. When Yahuwah has given security to the rest of the Israelites, as he has to you, and when they occupy the land Yahuwah your God has given them across the Jordan River, then you all may return here to the land I have given you. At that time, I gave Joshua this charge. You have seen for yourself everything that Yahuwah your God has done to these two kings. He will do the same to all the kingdoms on the west side of the Jordan. Do not be afraid of the nations there, for Yahuwah your God will fight for you. At that time, I pleaded with Yahuwah and said, O sovereign Lord, you have only begun to show your greatness and your strength of your hand to me, your servant. Is there any God in heaven or on earth who can perform such great and mighty deeds as you do? Please let me cross this Jordan to see the wonderful land on the other side, the beautiful hill country and the Lebanon mountains. But Yahuwah was angry with me because of you and who would not listen to me. That's enough, he declared. Speak of it no more, but go up to Pisgah Peak and look over the land in every direction. Take a good look, but you may not cross the Jordan River. Instead, commission Joshua and encourage and strengthen him, for he will lead the people across the Jordan. He will give them all the land you now see before you as their possession. So we stayed in the valley near Beth Peor. All right, beautiful people. So that was Deuteronomy 1, 2, and 3. So let me minimize this and bring this over here. And let's go ahead and start in the Legends of the Jews. And some of the stuff, like I said, we're about to come upon it, and it's going to give more details. I know we're going through Deuteronomy. But it's going to keep going all the way up through the book of Joshua and through the books of Kings, and all that stuff is in here. We're going to get through all of it. We're just going to keep reading through it, right? And we're going to get to all of it, but we're going to actually see the detail of Moses and his countdown to the day he died. It's kind of funny, but then again, it's not, because he really didn't want to die. He really wanted to go, and he kept on. But right here in Deuteronomy, it just sums it up where Yahuwah finally got tired. He said, that's enough, Moses. Stop. You're not going. He said, I'm going to let you see it, though. Moses was really acting like one of the, I ain't going to say acting like a child, because he was the meekest man who ever walked on the face of the earth, right? But he kept asking him, and we're going to see some of the detail in here. We'll get to it in a few days. It's just going to go into detail on why at this point he cannot stay alive, right? Because I know poor Moses. It's like, but once you read it, it's like, oh man, it's like, blessed be the most holy, because of what he sees coming. Even though sometimes you try to explain stuff to us, we think we can kind of circumvent the outcome. Sometimes Yahuwah allows it, but does he allow it, or was it always going to go that way anyway? Did he already know that we were going to think that by us doing this, it was going to change it? That he already knew that we was going to change our mind and it was going to go this way anyway. Y'all get what I'm saying? It's like, did it change really, or did it go as it was planned to go from the beginning anyway? It just looked like to us that we did this and it changed, but it was going to go that way anyway, right? But we see why he had to go. Like Moses, at this point, Moses really did have to go, especially since he already said commission Joshua, because nobody was going to listen to Joshua. I mean, some of them did, but most of them, some of the ones who are their daddy's children, hard-headed ones, their fathers and their mothers died in the wilderness, they are their daddy's children, because although Yahuwah counted them innocent, but some of them they started keeping to some of the same stuff that their daddies and mamas who died in the wilderness did, and this get them in trouble. But they was being thick-headed and wouldn't listen. Okay, so we are in volume 3, chapter 4, page 317, and if you have the smaller book, the title is called "The Flesh Pots of Egypt." Okay, y'all. Oh, Trina, you a G. Like, cause I got this sweet tooth. Like, I gotta stop it. So, but I replace some of the sweets. Although I will eat a honey bun every now and again. I try to replace all the sweet stuff with healthy sweet stuff. So my new vice is my peanut butter banana smoothies. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. The flesh pots of Egypt. Not mindful of the punishment by fire, Israel still did not mend their ways, but soon again began to murmur against Yahuwah. And so often before, it was again the mixed multitude that rebelled against Yahuwah and Moses, saying, "Who shall give us flesh to eat? We remember the flesh we did eat in Egypt freely, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. But now our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all besides this manna before our eyes." But all this murmuring and these complaints were only a pretext to sever themselves from Yahuwah. For first of all, they actually possessed many herds and much cattle, enough plentifully to satisfy their lusting after flesh if they had really felt it. Ooh, listen to this. This is so good, y'all. Remember, we talked about this before. Listen. And it's always the ones that we didn't let come in and mix among us. And you who would say, don't do that. But we was like, oh, they good people though. They good. It was always these ones who was inciting the riots amongst our people. Listen, let's go back right here. Hold on. As so often before, it was again the mixed multitude that rebelled against Yahuwah and Moses, saying, who shall give us up flesh to eat? We remember the fish that we did eat freely in Egypt, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. But now our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all besides this manna before our eyes. But all this murmuring and these complaints were only a pretext to sever themselves from Yahuwah. For first of all, they actually possessed many herds and much cattle, enough plentifully to satisfy their lusting after flesh if they had really felt it. And manna, furthermore, had the flavor of every conceivable kind of food. So all they had to do while eating it was to wish for a certain dish, and they instantly perceived in manna the taste of the desired food. It is true that manna never gave them the flavor of the 5 vegetables they mentioned, but they should have been grateful to Yahuwah for sparing them the taste of these vegetables, injurious to health. So Yahuwah let them taste every flavor that they imagined that they wanted, except for the ones that was harmful to your health. Like I need him to do that with me and this whole sparkling water thing, right? It's injurious to my health. It caused my face to break out, right? So this was listen. Okay. It is true that manna never gave them the flavor of the 5 vegetables they mentioned, but they should have been grateful to Yahuwah for sparing them the taste of these vegetables, injurious to health. Here they showed their perversity in being dissatisfied with the measures for which they should have been grateful to Yahuwah. Manna displeased them because they did not contain the flavor injurious to health, and they also subject and I'm sorry, then they also objected to it because it remained in their bodies. Wherefore they said, the manna will swell in our stomachs. For can there be a human being that takes food without excreting it? And we learned about manna, remember, it described to us how it was angels' food, right? And it was made to dissolve in the body, so they didn't have a need to actually go and use the bathroom. And the manna actually made them stronger. It said it made them like they were angels, right? They were like, as they were eating this, it was like they were almost invincible. It said that was the generation that was the most healthiest. The bodies were in best condition. Even when they died, the worms didn't even touch their bodies, right? Oh my gosh, we need this today. Wherefore they said, the manna will swell in our stomachs. For can there be a human being that takes food without excreting it? Yahuwah had, as a special mark of distinction, given them this food of the angels, which is completely dissolved in the body, and of which they could always partake without injury to their health. It is a clear proof of the excellent taste of manna that a later time, when the last manna fell on the day of Moses' death, they ate of it for 40 days and would not make use of other food until the manna had been exhausted to the last grain, clearly showing that the taking of any different food was disagreeable. But while manna was at hand in abundance, they complained about seeing it before them morning and evening, no other food than manna. The true state of affairs was that they had a lurking dissatisfaction with the yoke of the law. Oh, listen to this, y'all. They were just trying to find a reason to pick, right? You know how sometimes things can be perfect and it's like you're not used to things being perfect. So you got to try to find some kind of flow. You got to find some reason to pick with something. Like you can't be this good. You got to find some reason, you got to pick something, right? This is what they were doing. They was itching for a fight. The true state of affairs was that they had a lurking dissatisfaction with the yoke of the law. It is certain that they had not had in Egypt better food for which they now long, for their taskmasters, far from giving them the dainties, gave them not even straw for making bricks. But in Egypt they had lived undisturbed by laws, and it was this unrestrained life that they desired back. They want to do what they want to do. Especially hard for them were the new laws on marriage, for in Egypt they had been accustomed to marrying those closely related by blood, from whom they were now obliged to separate. They now trooped together in families and awaiting the moment when Moses, about to leave the house of study, would have to pass them, and they began to murmur publicly, accusing him of being to blame for all the sufferings they had been obliged to bear. Upon his advice, they said, had they abandoned the most fruitful land, and instead of enjoying the great fortune promised to them, they were now wandering about in misery, suffering thirst from lack of water, and were apprehensive of dying of starvation in case the supply of manna should cease. When these and similar abuses were uttered against Moses, one of the people stepped forward and exhorted them not to soon forget about the many benefactions they had known from Moses, and not to despair of Yahuwah's aid and support. But the multitude upon this became even more excited and raged and shouted more violently than ever against Moses. This conduct of Israel called forth Yahuwah's wrath, but Moses, instead of interceding for the people, began to complain of their treatment of him and announced to Yahuwah that he could now execute the commission he had undertaken in Egypt, namely to lead Israel in spite of all the reverse until he had reached the point of the promised land. He now begged Yahuwah to relieve him of the leadership of the people in some way, and at the same time to stand by him in his present predicament, that he might satisfy the people's desire for flesh. The appointment of 70 elders. The sad predicament of Moses on this occasion is partly traceable to the fact that he had to face alone the murmurs and complaints of the people without the accustomed assistance of the 70 elders. Since the exodus from Egypt, the 70 elders of the people had always been at his side, but these had recently been killed by the fire from heaven at Taberah, so that he now stood all alone. This death overtook the elders because, like Nadab and Abihu, they had not shown sufficient reverence in ascending Mount Sinai on the day of the revelation, when, in the view of divine vision, they conducted themselves in an unseemly manner. Like Nadab and Abihu, the elder would have received instantaneous punishment for their offense had Yahuwah not been unwilling to spoil the joyful day of the revelation by their death, but they had to pay the penalty nevertheless. Nadab and Abihu being burned at the consecration of the tabernacle, and the elders similarly at Taberah. As Moses now utterly refused to bear the burden of the people alone, Yahuwah said to him, I gave thee sufficient understanding and wisdom to guide my children alone, that thou mightest be distinguished by this honor. Thou, however, wish to share this guidance with others. Go then and expect no help from me, but I will take of the spirit that is upon thee and will put it upon them, and they shall bear the burden of the people with thee, that thou bear it not thyself alone. And we see this is a constant thing with Moses, right? From the time you called him, he like, well, I can't go to Pharaoh. Can Aaron come along too? Like he always looking for like somebody else, like Yahuwah wasn't enough, right? Yahuwah said, I gave you everything you needed to lead this people alone with just me by your side, but you always calling for help from other people, right? Who may that not be us? Let us learn from Moses. Although Moses was the meekest man, he wasn't perfect. None of us are perfect, but as we're learning about different things, let's learn to adapt to the good and put away the things that seem wanting, right? We don't want those same things lacking and wanting in our own lives. May we not be found wanting. And a lot of us are found wanting at this day, right? So may we grow day by day. Yahuwah bade Moses choose as his helpers in the guidance of the people such men as has already been active leaders and officers in Egypt. In the days of Egyptian bondage, it became I'm sorry, in the days of Egyptian bondage, it frequently happened that the officers of the children of Israel were beaten if the people had not fulfilled their task in making bricks. But he that is willing to sacrifice himself for the benefit of Israel shall be rewarded with honor, dignity, and the gift of the Holy Spirit. The officers suffered in Egypt for Israel and were now found worthy of having the Holy Spirit come upon them. Yahuwah moreover said to Moses, with kindly words, welcome the elders to their new dignity, saying, hail to you that are deemed worthy by Yahuwah of being fit for this office. At the same time, however, speak seriously with them also, saying, know ye that the Israelites are a troublesome and stiff-necked people, and that you must be ever prepared to have them curse you or cast stones at you. Ain't that still true today about our folk? Yahuwah commanded the selection of the elders to take place at the tabernacle, that Israel might reverence them, saying, surely these are worthy men. But they were not permitted with Moses to enter the tabernacle and hear Yahuwah's words. The people were, however, mistaken in assuming that Yahuwah's words reached the ears of the elders, for he spoke with Moses alone, even though the prophetic spirit came upon them also. Oh, so what does that say? That a prophetic spirit can come upon you, but you can also, with that prophetic spirit being upon you, you can also not be hearing the voice of the Most Holy. Ooh, I'm gonna read that again. Listen to this. Listen to this. So just because you got a prophetic spirit on you, don't mean that you hear the voice of the Most Holy. Don't mean that you hear the voice of the Most High. Don't mean that you hear the voice of Yah. Right? Let me read that again. Yahuwah commanded the selection of the elders to take place at the tabernacle, that Israel might reverence them, saying, surely these are worthy men. But they were not permitted with Moses to enter the tabernacle and hear Yahuwah's word. The people were, however, mistaken in assuming that Yahuwah's word reached the ears of the elders, for he spoke with Moses alone, even though the prophetic spirit came upon them also. Now, when Moses wished to proceed to the selection of the 70 elders, he was in a sore predicament because he could not evenly divide the number 70 among the 12 tribes, and was anxious to show no partiality to one tribe over another, which would lead to dissatisfaction among Israel. Bezalel, son of Uri, however, gave Moses good advice. He took 70 slips of paper on which was written elder, and with the other, and with them, hold on, and with them 2 blank slips. And hold on, I'm sorry. He took 70 slips of paper on which was written elder, and with them 2 blank slips, and mixed all these in an urn. 72 elders, 6 to each tribe, now advanced, each to draw a slip. Those whose slips were marked elder were elected, while those who had drawn blank slips were rejected. In such a wise, they could not well accuse Moses of partiality. By this method of appointment, it came to pass that there were 6 elders for each tribe except the tribe of Levi. The names of those chosen were from the tribe of Reuben, Hanok, Carmi, Palu, Zachor, Eliab, Nemuel. From the tribe of Simeon, Jamin, Jachin, Zohar, Ohad, Shaul, Zimri. From the tribe of Levi, Amram, Hananiah, Nathaniel, Sithri. From the tribe of Judah, Zerah, Dan, Jonadab, Bezalel, Shephatiah, Nashon. From the tribe of Issachar, Zuar, Uzzah, Egal, Palti, Othniel, Haggai. From the tribe of Zebulun, Serach, Elon, Sodi, Aholiab, Elijah, Nimshi. From the tribe of Benjamin, Sinah, Kislon, Elidad, Ahitub, Jadiel, Metaniah. From the tribe of Joseph, Jair, Jozer, Malkil, Adoniram, Abiram, Sether, from the tribe of Dan, Gedaliah, Jogli, Ahinom, Ahiezer, Daniel, Sariah, from the tribe of Naphtali, Elhanan, Elikam, Elishama, Shechemiah, Zabdi, Johanan, from the tribe of Gad, Haggai, Zarhi, Kenny, Mettiah, Mettathiah, Zechariah, Shuni, from the tribe of Asher, Pasher, Shalomi, Samuel, Shalem, Shechaniah, Abihu. Moses gathered these 70 elders of noble extraction and of lofty and pious character round about the tent in which Yahuwah revealed himself, bidding 30 of them to take their stand on the south side, 30 on the northern, and 10 on the eastern, whereas he himself stood on the western side. For this tent was 30 cubits long and 10 cubits wide, so that a cubit was appointed, so that each cubit was appointed to the elders. Yahuwah was also pleased with the appointment of the elders, that just as on the day of the revelation, he descended from heaven and permitted the spirit of prophecy to come upon the elders, so that they received the prophetic gift to the end of their days, as Yahuwah had put upon them the spirit of Moses. But Moses' spirit was not diminished by this. He was like a burning candle from which many others are lit, but which is not therefore diminished. And so likewise was the wisdom of Moses unimpaired. Even after the appointment of the elders, did Moses remain the leader of the people, for he was the head of this Sanhedrin of 70 members, which he guided and directed. Remember, Sanhedrin is literally talking about a big group, right? So when you hear Sanhedrin, it's a big group of people. In this respect, a big group of elders. The position of elders was not the same rank as that of Moses, for he was the king of Israel. And it was for this reason that Yahuwah had bidden him to secure trumpets and use them for the calling of assembly, that this instrument might be blown before him as before a king. Hence, shortly before Moses' death, these trumpets were recalled from use. For his successor Joshua did not inherit from him either his kingly dignity or these royal insignia. Not until David's time were the trumpets again used, which Moses had fashioned in the desert. Eldad and Medad. We're gonna read this next. We gotta read this next section, y'all. Okay, so remember, Moses was the king. He was the deliverer, and he was also the king, right? And I believe the same thing is going to happen. It's going to happen again. So whoever that deliverer is, that is going to arise in our generation, or it could be, and sometime I wonder if it's going to be multiple deliverers, because we're scattered to the four corners now. So we're like all over the world. So maybe there will rise up someone like Moses everywhere we have been scattered, and we all come together and go back to the land that was promised to us. However that happens, I really don't know how that's going to happen or how Yahuwah is going to set that out, but he said he was going to gather us. I don't know if he gathered us in place or he ain't going to gather us. He said we're going to go back home. No, we know we ain't home. We know we're going back home. So, but how all that's going to go down, I'm still not truly sure about that, right? Okay. All right. Eldad and Medad. When Moses had completed the appointment of the elders and had asked them to accompany him to the tabernacle, there to receive the Holy Spirit, Eldad and Medad, two of these elders, in their humility, did not obey his summons, but hid themselves, deeming themselves unworthy of this distinction. Yahuwah rewarded them for their humility by distinguishing them fivefold above the other elders. These prophesied what would take place on the following day, announcing the appearance of the quails, but Eldad and Medad prophesied what was still veiled in the distant future. The elders prophesied only on this one day, but Eldad and Medad retained the gift for life. The elders died in the desert, whereas Eldad and Medad were the leaders of the people after the death of Joshua. The elders are not mentioned by name in the scriptures, whereas these two are called by name. The elders furthermore had received the prophetic gift from Moses, where Eldad and Medad received it directly from Yahuwah. Eldad now began to make prophecy, saying, Moses will die, and Joshua the son of Nun will be his successor as the leader of the people, whom he will lead into the land of Canaan, and to whom he will give it as a possession. Medad's prophecy was as follows: Quails will come from the sea and will cover the camp of Israel, but they will bring evil to the people. Listen to this. Listen to this. Not only did he prophesy this, but he also prophesied what's going to happen in our generation. Listen to the rest of this prophecy. And this is the stuff that I be talking about. I was like, there are pieces that are missing that we need to find out what's going to happen. And it's starting to make sense to me why a lot of this stuff was hidden. Granted, it was authorized by Yah because he didn't want to reveal it until this day, right? So things are coming out and look like some things were Yahuwah is going to use Israel to lay the smack down on a lot of places, right? Hence why he's raising us up everywhere we're scattered at. Like he strategically scattered us everywhere we are scattered, and he's raising us up in those lands. Some of our people are even rising to positions of prominence where they actually can make ruling judgments and change some things, right? Listen to this. Ooh, listen to this. Look. Medad's prophecy was as follows: Quails will come from the sea and will cover the camp of Israel, but they will bring evil to the people. Besides these prophecies, both together announce the following revelation. At the end of days, there will come up out of the land of Magog a king to whom all nations will do homage. Crowned kings, princes, and warriors with shields will gather to make war upon those returned from exile in the land of Israel. So, sometimes I have days where I'm like, okay, Father, how is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? Are you returning us? Or are you going to do that? Are we going to be here? But no, we are going to return. Like in some of these prophecies that have been lost through the years, it says that we are going to return to the land where we were exiled from, right? Listen to this again. Besides these prophecies, both together announce the following revelation. Both Medad and Eldad prophesied this. At the end of days, and what is the end of days? Let's just make that clear, because Jubilees also tells us what the end of days is. It's not the end of the world like it's being taught in some places. Yahuwah gonna come get his people and destroy the earth. It has some kind of truth to it, but he's going to gather his people, return them to their land here on earth. Now, how we get there, I don't know. He could swoop and take us and drop us in. Or like we read in Isaiah, it said the children return by swift beasts, and things like a bird flying through the air that lands soft like a dove on a windowsill. They didn't have planes back then, but we clearly know that's a description of an airplane. Swift beasts, vehicles, cars, planes, trains, automobiles, right? That looks like how we're gonna be returning, right? That's what I understand at this day. That's what I understand that to be, right? Okay. Let me finish reading this. I quit cutting off, but I want to say the end of day. The end of days is actually means the end of the rule of Esau. Those who are now in power that are ruling through wickedness is going to be the end of their rule, right? Jacob now begins to rule. Esau first, then Jacob, right? So the end of Esau's reign over the world is the end of days. When we come to the end of that, and it begins the rule of Jacob. They just like to say end of days. I wish they would add the rest of that. No, it's the end of days for the wicked rule, and it's the beginning of the rule of righteousness, or the beginning of the messianic transition, right? To where the righteous are now put on top and they begin ruling. Cosmic slop spaceships. Ha. Natasha, you funny. Okay. Besides these prophecies, both together announce the following revelation. At the end of days, there will come up out of the land of Magog a king to whom all nations will do homage. Crowned kings. And it kind of sounds that person who rises, that kind of sounds like something, but let's just keep reading. At the end of days, there will come up out of the land of Magog a king to whom all nations will do homage. Crowned kings, princes, and warriors with shields will gather to make war upon those returned from exile in the land of Egypt. But Yahuwah, our Lord, will stand by Israel in their need and will slay all their enemies by hurling a flame from under his glorious throne. Pause for a second. Remember that dream I told y'all? It just came back to me. My son Josiah, he was talking about something. He said there was lightning striking down every high place. Don't that sound like that? Like I just tell. It just seemed like some different things I shared just lined up. Although I don't be thinking about it, right? Trying to line stuff up, but it just pops out. Okay. Besides these prophecies, both together announce the following revelation. At the end of days, there will come out of the land of Magog a king to whom all nations will do homage. Crowned kings, princes, and warriors with shields will gather to make war on those returned from exile in the land of Israel. But Yahuwah, our Lord, will stand by Israel in their need and will slay all their enemies by hurling a flame from under his glorious throne. This will consume all the souls and the host of the king of Magog, so that their bodies will drop lifeless on the mountains of the land of Israel and will become a prey to the beasts of the field and the fowls of the air. Then all the dead among Israel arise and rejoice in the good that at the beginning of the world was laid up for them, and will receive the reward for their good deeds. When Gershom, Moses' son, heard these prophecies of Eldad and Medad, he hurried to his father and told him of them. Joshua was now greatly agitated about the prophecy that Moses was to die in the desert, and that he, as to be his successor, said to Moses, "O Lord, destroy these people that prophesy such evil news." But Moses replied, "O Joshua, canst thou believe that I begrudge thee thy splendid future? It is my wish that thou mayest be honored as much as I have been, and that all Israel be honored like thee." Eldad and Medad were distinguished not only by their prophetic gift, but also by their noble birth, being half brothers of Moses and Aaron. When the marriage laws were revealed, all those who had been married to relatives by blood had to be divorced from them, so that Amram too had to be separated from his wife Jochebed, who was his aunt, and he married another woman. From this union sprang Eldad, not of an aunt, and Medad in the place of an aunt, so called by Amram to explain these names, why he had divorced his wife, why he had divorced his first wife, his aunt, the quails. The prophecy of these men concerning the quails turned out as they had predicted, the quails being, as Yahuwah had foretold Moses, no blessing for the people. For Yahuwah said to Moses, "Tell the people to be prepared for impending punishment. They shall eat flesh to satiety, but then they shall loathe it more than that they now lust for it. I know, however, how they came to have such desires. Because my Shekinah is among them, they believe that they may presume anything. Had I removed my Shekinah from their midst, they would never have cherished so foolish a desire." Moses, knowing that the granting of the people's wish would be disastrous to them, so Yahuwah said, Moses, knowing that the granting of the people's wish would be disastrous to them, said to Yahuwah, "O Lord, why, pray, dost thou first give them flesh, and then in punishment for their sins slay them? Who has ever heard one say to an ass, Here is a measure of wheat, eat it, for we want to cut off thy head? Or to a man, Here is a loaf of bread for thee, take it and go to hell with it?" Yahuwah replied, "Well then, what wouldst thou do?" Moses, "I will go to them and reason with them, that they may desist from their lusting after flesh." Yahuwah, "I can tell thee beforehand that thy endeavors in this matter will be fruitless." Moses betook himself to the people, saying to them, "Is Yahuwah's hand waxed short? Behold, he smote the rock that the waters gushed out, and the streams overflowed. He can give bread also. Can he not provide flesh for his people? The people, however, said, Thou art only trying to soothe us. Yahuwah cannot grant our wish. But they erred vastly. For hardly had the pious among them retired to their tents, when upon the godless who had remained in the open came down quails in masses as thick as snowflakes, so that many more were killed by the descent of the quails than later by them tasting them. The quails came in such masses that they completely filled the space between heaven and earth. Oh my gosh. So that they even covered the sun's disk and settled down on the north side and the south side of the camp as it were a day's journey, lying, however, not directly upon the ground, but 2 cubits above it, that the people might not have to stoop to gather them up. Considering this abundance, it is not surprising that even the hawk that could go, I'm sorry. Considering this abundance, it is not surprising that even the hawk that could not go far, and the lazy, they would not each gather 100 core. What? Considering this abundance, it is not surprising that even the hawk that could go not far, and the lazy that would not gather each 100 core. These vast quantities of flesh did not, however, benefit them, for hardly had they tasted of it when they gave up the ghost. This was the punishment for the grave sinners, while the better ones among them enjoyed the taste of the flesh for a month before they died. Whereas the pious, without suffering harm, caught the quails, slaughtered them, and ate of them. This was the heaviest blow that had fallen upon Israel since their exodus from Egypt, and in memory of the many men who died because of their forbidden lusting after flesh, they changed the name of the place where this misfortune occurred to Kiribath Hatavah, graves of those who lusted. The winds that went forth to bring the quails was so powerful a storm that it could have destroyed the world. So great was Yahuwah's anger against the ungrateful people, and it was only due to the merits of Moses and Aaron that this wind finally left the world upon its hinges. And we are going to stop right there. Tomorrow, we're going to pick up with this slandering and what happened to Aaron and Miriam for their slander of Moses. Blessings, Natasha. And this gets pretty good. I'm not sure if y'all read ahead with this, but we get more detail on why Miriam had got stricken with leprosy, right? I wish they had left this part in. It wasn't just her, it was Aaron too. Although Aaron, it didn't stay on him, it stuck on Miriam. You got to read the whole backstory on what happened. So when we read this, the story that we read in the Bible now makes sense, right? I remember somebody, it was funny. This was a few months back. Somebody had did a video, right? And I responded to it. And I only responded to it because he asked a question, right? It was one of these guys one of the brothers of Zion, who he has a very filthy mouth, and but he also, you can tell, I don't know, maybe his teaching is just for the men, right? But some of his titles kind of caught my attention. I wanted to see what he was talking about, see how he expounded on some of the things. But it to me, it seems like he just hollered throughout his whole video. But he had asked a question. And I just kind of, a lot of times I'll kind of stay in my lane, and I just won't, especially when it's multiple men. So I just, let the brothers have this, but I'm gonna glean wisdom where I can, right? Well, he had asked a question and nobody had answered it. And I knew the answer. So, respectfully, because I know the demeanor of this person, how they don't care who it is, he can go out there to call you all out your name and stuff. I'm like, oh, Father, I know this. I say, but he might snap on me. But I was like, he asked. I was like, so I'm not butting in here. He actually asked anybody, man or woman, anybody, So I'm like, well, okay. And I heard it. I forget what it was, but I'm reminded of this because of Aaron and Miriam. Because he asked, I forget, I would actually have to find that video. I had to go to the channel and find that video. But he asked the question and I answered it very respectfully. I made sure I watched the tone of my words because I knew the demeanor and how his whole demeanor is. Matter of fact, the channel is called The Destroyer of the Gentiles, right? You know, one of our people, one of our folks. But just the way he talks and he responds to people, I was like, yeah, he ain't gonna snap my head off. So I made sure in my comment, I was as respectful as possible. I made sure and I read it to myself a couple times just to make sure, okay, will somebody take that wrong? It seemed like I'm yelling. And anytime I use caps, I will make a note. No, I'm using caps to bring your attention to this, not because I'm yelling at you. Like, right? So I did all that. And so he came and responded on it. And I was like, but the scripture says this is here, right? And I could tell that it was just a topic that it was like a fly by night, not necessarily fly by night, but a topic he really hadn't discussed. But I think the topic came up because he was going back and forth arguing with somebody, and neither one of them had actually really looked into it for real. Although they had videos talking about it, they hadn't really looked into it in the depths that I had looked into it. So I knew the answer to this, right? And so what happened was I put it up there. It was a short little paragraph. I was very respectful, very respectful. And he came on, he said, oh, well, what about this? I said, well, if you would just read just a little bit further, it actually explains this right here. And then he said, I could tell by his response, he was starting to get agitated, but I was only responding because he had asked me another question, right? And then finally, probably after about 4 responses, it was like, you know how sometimes people just lose it, like, what do you want? And I'm just like, no, he said, get to your point, sister. What are you trying to say? Is you just say what you're gonna say, you know? And then I was like, well, I simply said this because you asked this, so I was addressing this, and everything he said, I just kind of went back and I kind of made it short because I saw he was getting agitated, but he was asking me a question, you know. So, but I answered it because I knew there were other people that were watching, and sometimes when you go to people's channels and they ask a question, it's people kind of just lurking around watching the comment section, like eating popcorn, like, ooh, what they gonna say next. So I was mindful of that, but he just kind of lost his stuff, right? And he just started like, look, women like you get in trouble. Think about what happened to Miriam and her running her mouth. And I'm like, I started typing out, first of all, and I was like, Pam, stop it. And so I was like, listen, Miriam got in trouble because she spoke, Yahuwah said that she spoke against him, you know, because the way he was making it sound, he was making it seem like the Most Holy was going to strike me down because I answered his question. I guess I answered it in a way that he really wasn't expecting. I don't think he really expected that somebody was going to bring all the proof and put it there, you know, and then he kind of got agitated. So from that point, after we did that, I no longer responded. Even if I'll go look at it from down here, but I know I was like, yeah, he asked questions, but he really don't want anybody to answer. That's what I picked up. I was like, yeah, he just, you know, because, and you could tell, and he's still doing the same thing. He asked a question, but he really don't want your input for real. He really want to argue his point. And that's what I realized after that. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to comment on any more of your stuff because you don't look like you're willing to grow, like you really want to sit and have a conversation or actually have a dialogue, right? Going back and forth, you know, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's good. Okay, thank you for that. You know, he really just wanted to argue, and he don't want women talking to him at all. Like, I'm like, I respect that because men sometimes, okay, it's mostly women here, you know, okay, I understand that. But he literally come from, based on what I've seen, I ain't gonna say he come from that, but the way he talks, and even sometimes how he talk about his wife and how he called her out her name of bitch, and they think that's okay. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, this is complete blasphemy. Like I had, and it's been a while since I've seen I watched his channel because I just could not take the disrespect when he would talk about his wife. It vexed me so much. I'm like, how can people listen to you? I'm like, have we ever seen Yahuwah's people? And that whole dishonor portion of the men lording over our women, that was never our culture. That was never our culture. That was taught to us by heathen nations, right? And they took it and they kind of kind of help ingrain and work it into our people, where our people think this is a normal thing. We never dishonored and disrespected one another this way. It was never this way. We never see instances of this happening through here. Our men, no matter if they're kings, queens, we may have seen. You can't really say that. I was thinking about the Shulamite, but he didn't dishonor her. He was just pissed because she wanted to help King David's men out or whatever. He said no, but he kind of Yahuwah hardened his heart. Neighbor was not neighbor. What's neighbor? Nabal. Remember the guy King David was going to give him gifts. Hey, we do this. He said no, but his wife, he said, oh, forgive my husband. He's a foolish man. This, because King David was going to come and he was going to slaughter this, the Shulamite's husband, him and all his men, and that would have devastated their town. When she heard of it, she prayed and she sought the forgiveness. Forgive my husband, this. And Yahuwah actually took his life. Yahuwah did it before King David got to him, right? So yeah, the camps are government agents. They love the heathen women, yet disrespect their own kind. Yeah. Yahuwah is definitely gonna sweep them away. They gonna be some of the ones. They're gonna be some of the ones that kind of get swept away, because those are truly the rebels among us. It's disheartening to watch. It's like, how do you? And I've seen some of them. It's like, how do you teach your children this? How do you teach your children to disrespect their mother? Like, because you're pissed at her for whatever reason, because she's not bowing to you and kissing your feet. Like, y'all supposed to be like teammates, like y'all supposed to be like Bonnie and Clyde, like partners for life, like where one is weak here, the other one is strong here. Like, you literally come together to make one another complete, so you be like one united force. But the way that they treat their, like, it's disgusting, y'all. It makes me want to puke. I can't listen to them that long. It's like, how could you even be put in a position to teach people when you dishonor women like this? And we know, I said it before, we see it, and you can go to any place that dishonors women like this and lords over women. The spirit of the most holy is not there. Like, there is no power. I don't care how much you standing in the pulpit talking about how you the man of this and the king of this and you run this, but we can tell the true state of your kingdom by looking at the women. And how are the women acting? Are they nice and order? Are they efficient? They moving? They help making this place better? And y'all working together as a team? Or are they scared you gonna smack them upside the head and they hiding and stuff and they grouping together? Says, who gonna be Harriet Tubman today? We got to get out of here. Like, we can tell the true state of your flocks by looking at the demeanor of your women and your children. Because if you're in, it's, oh my gosh, God, it's I can't watch them. They make me want to throw up. Like, I can't. It's like, and for people to believe that the most holy, it seemed like y'all being blessed in some type of way, but y'all got all kinds of stuff that's going to find you out, and it's going to be exposed to the world and be like, wait a minute, what happened here? Because y'all are doing things that y'all should not be doing, right? And I say it because there's a lot of things that were not comprised in the regular Bible, where it talks about how Yahuwah stood up for the women, like when they were being oppressed and they cried out to him, especially they were innocent, because Yahuwah does not take kindly to people dishonoring his daughters. Just like he stood beside the men and the kings, he's that much more fierce over his daughters, the daughters of Zion, So, and if our women knew this, they could stand up boldly, but not stand and go toe to toe with you and trying to, and not doing all that, but honorably, you carrying yourself in an appropriate fashion, honorably knowing that the Most High stands behind you. You can walk in confidence and boldness, knowing that you can speak the truth and go about your business, and if you have a husband who's in line with the Most High, you two are just going to flow together, right? And it should be a good, wholesome thing where people can look on a union and be blessed, and everything that from this union will bless the world, not cause people to think like, sis, you need to roll out. What's going on over there? You let him, not saying everybody perfect, but people go through their different things, but you got to grow. You can tell the difference between a tyrant and somebody who's ignorant, but who wants to do what's right. They just need some proper teaching, right? Okay. That's all I'm gonna say about that. They're insecure. That's what, because they don't like the fact that women like you were shining the light to their wicked ways. Oh yeah, they don't. And this, I've seen it's a lot of women out there that have YouTube channels that are like speaking the truth, and they're not disrespectful. They're not talking down on the men or anything. Like, you who are blessed. I had nothing but men to come from my womb. I got 5 of them, and my daughter came last, right? So I have a special heart towards men. I cannot stand to see, although I'm not happy about some of the ways that some of our men have adapted to and are using to dishonor the women. Like, but I will go to war for the men, not against them, but for them, and I will fight for them because I have sons, right? And I wouldn't dare. It's like, let me say this. Let me just say this, but I hope y'all understand what I'm saying. Although the men are out there, they're the fierce and they're the protector. It's like they're like the lions, but it almost seems like they're, and hear me when I say this, for lack of better words, they're, I ain't gonna say, they're more fragile, so to speak. It's like you can break them easier than you can break a woman, so to speak, right? Because and I understood that by having birthing boys and just how they act. And I'm like, but men tend to, they got to put on this hard shell on the outside, but when really on the inside, alone you talk, they're like teddy bears. And, it's just like, man, but they have to put on this outer hard shell because, I mean, y'all get what I'm saying, right? So, but I mean, and it's vice versa because I see some women do it too. There are women that truly run their mouth and they are like a dripping faucet. Like, sis, shut up. I'm gonna slap you myself. That's why that man want to live on the roof with a crust of bread, because you can't control your mouth. You have it on both sides, so it's not more of one it is other. This is about a good deal of both. Both of them are rebels. These men and these women, they both need to be shaken, right? And get it together, so, but you see it on both sides. But there's a lot of cleanup that needs to happen within our nation of people, right? From improper teaching and poor things that have been passed down and modeled to our people. Like that was not our way. It was really more community based. We didn't do those type of things that you see. A lot of times they're pushing it through the TV and movies and some of this other stuff that they're trying to push it out there like this is all what we're about. And it's never been that way for real, right? And so they try and fool the world and even try and fool us through constant bombarding of these disgusting practices and acts like this is all that there is to us, when it's truly not. We've never been what they portray us to be, right? So, but that's it, y'all. I'm done. I'm done for the day. So let's go ahead and do the blessing. So, but I wanted to bring up that point, but I said all that to say when I got to this point, it reminded me of the particular guy when I was watching the video. So it's just like, man, Yahuwah bless his people and clean us up. That's the last bit I'm gonna say. Okay, y'all. So let's go ahead and do the blessing, which is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. And we know the first 21 verses is the Nazarite vow. Man or woman can take it. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, on this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, may Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us his peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. That's it for today. It is Tuesday, February the 16th, 2021, day 79 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, day 748 of the 3-year consecutive day count. We read Deuteronomy 1, 2, and 3, and we read the legends of the Jews. We started on page 317 and we ended on page 320, and we're going to pick this up tomorrow. All right, y'all. I love y'all. See y'all bright and early in the morning. Double check. I was just explaining something because it popped up. I wasn't really giving attention to it. But I want it because I was reminded of it. It happened months ago. I had completely forgot about it till I read over that last portion. I was like, oh, I remember that. Yeah, but it's nothing. I wasn't giving attention to it. I just wanted to explain the example. Okay. Okay, that's it. I was just checking for questions. Okay, y'all. That's it. We out here. Hey, girl, hey. All right, y'all. We out here. Bruce.